and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula 1. The Miami Grand Prix has come to a close and frig's sake, what another yawn fest, honest to God. This season's shit, isn't it? This season is shite. It's just shite. It really is. I mean, fuck's sake. Like, I've just really got no enthusiasm for any of this shit at the moment because it is fucking awful. It's atrocious. It's so bad it's unbelievable. You know, it's no fault of Red Bulls that they're winning everything. It's the fault of every other frigging team for not building a car good enough. Again. You know, but anyway, that's just me already on a moan before we even start. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their race weekend's performance. And I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Look out for bonus points though, they're sometimes on offer for some drivers that do something extra special during a race, and on the rare occasion I do award minus points to those drivers that do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. So let's take a look at the current standings then. Here they are for you to take a look at going into this round, of course. See where your favourite driver is and see whether you could expect him to go up or down this order, because yeah, I think it's going to be all change a little bit somewhere. I've got a funny feeling the scores this weekend might actually make an influence, despite the race making frig all influence to the actual championship. But you never know. We'll see what happens. So we're going to kick things off, of course, with the race winner, Max Verstappen. And yeah, he did okay this weekend, didn't he? He came from 9th, though. Had to come from 9th because he made a mistake on his flying lap in Q3. And then on his last push lap in Q3, Leclerc binned it, caused a red flag, and that meant he couldn't get a lap in. Started 9th. And started the race on the hard tyres, and then that became the better tyre overall, putting in some really impressive laps on really old hard tyres to match Perez on his hard tyres that were a lot fresher, of course. Perez started on the medium, so he had to pit earlier, obviously. And then when he came out the pits, he was only a couple of seconds behind Perez. Max on new mediums, just breezed straight past him, and that was that. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And Max in the end took an unlikely victory, I would say. I was really expecting Perez to be able to break away. I was expecting the field spread to be a lot sooner than it was. So I was thinking like Max could be 15, 20 seconds behind, a pit stop behind effectively, of Perez by the time he got past everyone. But as it was, Perez really didn't have that much pace ahead and was only a few seconds ahead of Alonso. And then once Max had got past Alonso, that was it. It was game on straight away, instantly. You know, Perez had not built up enough of a gap, personally speaking, for me. Tried saving the tyres, which is understandable, but he did need to get his foot down a bit more. So, for Max Verstappen, it's going to be 8.5 on the Crawl Room to him, and I'm knocking him a point and a half off for the qualifying because he made a mistake that cost him pole, certainly cost him a front row, and yeah, it could have jeopardised his race massively. As it was, he decided to use his head and be really smart at the start. Cost himself a couple of places initially, but that doesn't matter because you're still in the race at least. And yeah, just picked him off one by one in a car that's superior to every frigger else. And yeah, took a win in great style. So yeah, the race actually recovers it for him massively. But I've still got to be harsh because based on that qualifying, it was unfortunate and it was his mistake. But yeah, 8.5 to Verstappen. And of course in second place it is Checo Perez. The fourth time this season these drivers have finished 1 and 2. Yeah, what can we say for Perez's race? I thought he had it in the bag. You know, a pole position, Max starting down in 9th, and then at the start of the race, where Max lost a couple of places at the start, you know, with the first lap or two, dropped down to the 11th and 10th, didn't he? You know, worked his way back up from there. Again, I mentioned that I thought the field spread would be a lot more excessive than it was, and I thought Perez were going to build a bigger gap over Alonso. You know, the car behind, I thought, right, Alonso's not got him at the start, so he's cleaning away here. I thought he'd be building the gap to more like 8-9 seconds, but as it was only 4 before Max actually overtook Alonso, which was, yeah, a little bit like a bit weird really, you know, because it wasn't as if Alonso had broken away massively from any other pack as well. It was only a couple of seconds. Yeah, you know, I thought Perez could have done more this weekend. As it worked out, you know, Max was on the advantageous strategy, but Perez had to start on the medium tyres, then pit for the hards, because had he started on the hard tyres, Alonso would have almost certainly got past him at the start, and maybe a couple behind could have nipped through as well if it especially bogged down. So they had to do the medium route. The top 10 cars were doing the medium route, and he had to copy, had to follow suit with that. So, yeah, Perez overall, great pole lap, but in the race he just let himself down a little bit, didn't he? You know, I've got to be honest, I was expecting a lot more pace from him early on, build that gap as much as possible, and then when Max had the advantage of the mediums at the end, at least he'd have had a lot more of a cushion before he had the chance to attack. But as it was, he gave the opportunity to Max, because as soon as Max came out the pits on those fresh mediums, he was only a couple of seconds behind him, straight within DRS and straight past him. So yeah, one of those things. But Perez, it's going to be 8.5 to him as well this weekend. Stunning pole lap, but yeah, let yourself down in the race. And then we come to Fernando Alonso, and here he is securing his 4th podium of the season. And wow, oh wow, oh wow. Alonso back in form again on the front row as well. P2 lining up, stunning effort. You know, bloody hell, we were all wrong about Alonso, weren't we? I don't think anyone, and you're lying if you did, said, oh yeah, I think Alonso's going to start this season, and I said to everyone he was going to get so many podiums, and he's going to do so well, and Aston Martin were going to be so good. Shut up, you knob. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. No one ever expected this. Everyone thought, Jesus Christ, another backwards move, but this one was bloody obvious, Fernando. Come on. But yeah, it wasn't, and it's the first move since moving to Ferrari that it's actually worked out for him in some respects, I would imagine. You know, Renault to Ferrari was a good move in 09 to 2010, wasn't it? But yeah, apart from that, every other decision he's ever made in his F1 racing career has been dog shit until now. So yeah, congratulations, Alonso. What could be said? P2, the only car that got past him was Max Verstappen, understandably, and even had time to watch the TV and say, oh, great move by Stroll. What position's for that? Yeah, it's for 43rd. It's for 43rd, Fernando. You just keep doing you. Don't bother looking at monitors for Stroll, because he's doing fucking wank this weekend. Yeah, no problem. Cheers, mate. You know, so yeah, he's even had a chance to look at the screen. I'm sure he got a chance to, you know, have a cup of tea while he was driving round. I'm sure he had a chance to have a look at the really expensive menu that was on offer for the VIP guests. A Jack Daniels with any mixer, ooh, $650. Now I drink that in anywhere I go. It's 20 quid for a big fucking bottle, and it was a double Jack Daniels Tennessee honey version I'd like to add, so maybe £22 a bottle. But yeah, $560 with any mixer though. So I might have had it mixed with, I don't know, about $650 worth of gold. That might have worked. Yeah, what a fucking bullshit thing. I fucking hate this track. Fucking hate the F1 at the minute, and the media and the fucking FIA, and just fucking everything's pissing me off at the minute. It's just so inaccessible to the everyday person. It's just really, really annoying me. You've had all this fucking bullshit with the Silverstone, with the ticket prices, like, oh, we go based on demand. Oh yes, and we start tickets from £39, but it turns out there's only one person able to get those. And then when you go onto the website, add that ticket to your basket, when you go back into your basket, it's £6,000. Like, oh, fuck off. Fuck off, all of it. It all needs to change. It's really pissing me off now. Anyway, what were I talking about? Alonso. That's it. Yeah. Sorry, I went off on a tangent again there. Yeah, Fernando Alonso. Perfect 10. You can't say anything other than that, can you? P2 on the grid and only finished behind Max Verstappen out of the cars he started ahead of. Yeah, if Red Bull weren't in that race, you know, oh God, it'd have been fucking hands down winning it, wouldn't it? So yeah, perfect 10 to Fernando. And then we come to George of the Russell. Watch out for that top 5. And in the top 5 years, here he is finishing in P4. And a great race, you know. Mercedes didn't look great over one lap in qualifying. In the race, they initially looked to struggle. But once they put the hard tyres on and stopped, you know, for George, it just went so well for him. He had such good pace, got past Carlos Sainz. You know, he did a good drive, really. Really impressive. Hamilton let him through, obviously team orders, but that was understandable. Hamilton was doing the hard to medium strategy like Verstappen was. But yeah, you know, this season, I was shocked because we saw a thing on Facebook and Twitter and that of F1 saying, oh, where's your favourite team in comparison to last year? And Mercedes have scored one more point this year than they had this time last year. And that baffled me because I thought Mercedes were doing shitter this year overall. You know, like, not as many podiums, and like George has been nowhere for a couple of races. And I thought, bloody hell, like, how have they managed that? It really did. I was perplexed by that, I really was. But yeah, they've scored 96 this season, and last season they scored 95. So they've not really made any progress at all. But judging by the poor races that both drivers have had, more often in the start of the season, weird, really weird. So yeah, but that properly threw me. But yeah, it must be true. But for George of the Russell anyway, it's a perfect end to him. A great drive overall, made some good moves there, and delivered the best result possible for Mercedes, because, you know, on a day where it was the third best car, he finished the third best car, you know, just behind an Aston Martin and the two Red Bulls, which are untouchable. Fair enough. Perfect 10 to George of the Russell. Then in 5th place we come to Carlos Sainz. Smooth operator. And this weekend I would say Carlos was a smooth operator. You know, he's had a couple of tough races, hasn't he? Baku was not great. And this weekend, you know, he knuckled down, did the best he could in the car he's got. You know, it's just a tub of shit, isn't it, that Ferrari? Really is a lump of lard. It's struggling, you know, and the only weekend where it was good, Baku, where Leclerc got a podium, Sainz wasn't on form, so that's disappointing. But here he is, again, best job he can. I would say it's the 4th best team. Here he is, finishing in the 4th best car, in 5th place, you know, ahead of a Mercedes, ahead of an Aston Martin, behind the other two Aston Martins and Mercedes, behind the two Red Bulls. It's all you can do, really. Qualifying was solid, but nothing special. Just overall, a good weekend again by Carlos, and he's just delivered what he could, you know. It doesn't seem great on tyre management, the car. It's not got overall pace. It's just a dog shit car over a full race run, really, isn't it? And it really struggles towards the end. You know, we've seen that every single race this season. You know, it seems to be not very fast, and then you think, oh, Christ, it's going even slower now. So yeah, Carlos Sainz, I've given him a solid 8. I think he deserves a solid 8. As much as I think his race weekend was great this weekend, it wasn't as impressive or as Alonso or George that I've given 10 to, and that's why I've given him an 8. So yeah, 8 points to Carlos Sainz. Then we come to Lewis Hamilton, and what could be said for his race weekend overall? It was good, wasn't it? But he hampered himself in qualifying. P13 in the qualifying session was not fantastic at all, was it? That was very disappointing. But in the race, after initially struggling and looking like it wasn't really going to be much points on offer at all, he started on the hard tyre and then pitted for the mediums. He carved his way through nicely in that latter stage. You know, he made some great overtakes. Of course, with him being on the hard tyre and putting great laps in on that hard tyre after the other drivers had pitted, they were fighting and squabbling over each other, made him build a gap. You know, he came out behind Ocon, but ahead of all the others that he was behind as they stopped. So, you know, that free air really helped him out, and the great pace that he had helped him out as well. Overtook Ocon, had to allow his teammate George through, and yeah, did all he could. Did all he could. And P6 from P13 is impressive in that car. Like I said, at the end of the race, it looks alive. You know, as the Ferrari goes like that, nosedives, the Mercedes seems to get better. And yeah, P6 overall for Lewis Hamilton is a great race result. But I've got to knock him a point off or two. You know, got to be harsh with the score, because had it not been for the poor qualifying, we could have seen a 4th and 5th here this weekend. And maybe, judging by the pace that Hamilton did have, if they'd have split the strategy of the Mercedes and they were further up the field, could we have seen one of them on the podium? Just putting that out there, you know, the pace of that Mercedes car was great in both of their hands. And Hamilton made had that great pace on the old hard tyre in that phase that allowed him to get out ahead of all the cars he was previously behind. Could we have seen it? We don't know. You know, it's a long shot there. I'm not saying that's gospel by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just something that popped into my head thinking, you know, could it have been possible? Who knows? So for Lewis Hamilton this weekend, it's going to be 7.5 on the cruel room to him. People are going to say that's harsh, but, you know, that's the cruel room for you. It's got to be cruel to be kind at times. And I do think he had an impressive race, but really held himself back with a poor qualifying performance. You know, the tyre strategy worked his favour as well. So, yeah, 7.5 to Lewis Hamilton. Next up, it is, of course, Sha-La-La.
seems Ferrari are underperforming again. I wonder if I'll get a phone call to become their #1 driver. I'll make sure they have a terrible season.
Oh, sacre bleu, shalala. And what could be said? It could be nothing other than the Latifi of the week there, could it? You know, he's had a lot of shunts so far this season, a lot of silly errors, a lot of mistakes, and 2 this weekend. 1 in free practice, 1 in qualifying. Not a good look, is it? Not a great look. And struggled in pace throughout the race, you know. Made hardly any progress, next to no progress at all. And then over the team radio at the end of the race, he's like, Xavi, there's something wrong with the car. Like, oh, it's really bad on the straight. It's like, well, stop fucking crashing it. That might help, you know. Jesus Christ, you stick out in a wall enough, it's not really gonna like you, is it? Yeah, we need to work on this. Yeah, you need to fucking work out not crashing it as well. Twice in a weekend. Like, you know, you've done a front end and a back end on it. You've done a lot of damage, and then you're saying, oh yeah, I need to look at this. Well, stop fucking crashing it. You know, if they weren't having to take it to bits and put it back together again, I think the car would be a lot more happier. But there you go. So yeah, it has to be a Latifi of the week to Leclerc, because shunting twice in a weekend, and then no progression at all in the race from a lowly grid position. Yeah, teammate beat him. That's it off, you know. Poor. Just poor. So yeah, a Latifi of the week to Sha-la-la. Then we come to Pierre Gasly. Bonjour, Pierre. Bonjour indeed. And he had a great race, didn't he, really? Got to be honest. P8 looks a bit disappointing when you look at it and think, yeah, just picked up a couple of points. But overall, his race was fantastic, wasn't it? He was another medium shod runner at the start. Of course, he had to start on those. Qualified P5, great effort there. But obviously, then he went onto the hard tyres and the faster cars got him. You know, he had obviously, I mean, of course, Max was always going to get past him. Hamilton got past him. It was just a good race though overall, wasn't it? It was like these Alpines were like, one started up here, one started down here, and then they met in the middle really, because they had the alternate strategies. One tumbled down, one climbed up, and met in the middle. But yeah, for Pierre Gasly, it's 9 points this weekend to him. I can't really fault it. That's probably his best drives in Alpine this season, apart from Australia before it all kicked off on that shit sprint bit. But yeah, you know, I think this is probably his most impressive drive to date for the Alpine team, and will really give him a boost because they've had a couple of tough rounds, haven't they? I mentioned Australia was fucking bullshit. Yeah, but 9 points to Pierre Gasly. Fair play, Pierre. Next up, it is, of course, as mentioned already, it is Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly's teammate, and he's getting the same. It's 9 points to him as well. You know, qualifying wasn't as good as his teammate, so that meant he had to start on the alternate strategy of starting hards and then onto the mediums. But he made that strategy work really, really well for him. Progressed up the field, progressed up nicely, and he met in the middle. Like I said, P8 and P9 was the best result, really, looking on paper. It is the 5th best team Alpine, in my opinion, at the moment, but there's some races where they're really, really shit. And they've just not had the luck at all. But I think if they can both knuckle down and keep getting these results, I mean, it's so disappointing to think that 8th and 9th is a good result for any other team. You know, it's absolutely mental. You know, you think if you get 2 Mercedes up there, 2 Red Bulls up there, 2 Aston Martin up there, and 2 Ferraris up there, that leaves the rest of the field fighting for 9th and 10th. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's just a weird season we're in, it really is. So yeah, as we go anyway, 9 points to Esteban Ocon, picks up a couple of points, recovered well from his bad qualifying, and yeah, that's the end of that really. He equalled his teammate after a poor qualifying effort, and deserves recognition for it. That was the best Alpine we're going to get this weekend, and that's what they got. Bravo Alpine, bravo Ocon, 9 points. And last of the points finishers, it is Kevin Magnussen. Wow, whoa, wow, whoa, wow. I mean, you look at Baku and you think, why on earth did Ass even bother turning up? And then you look here this weekend and K-Mag puts in a mighty performance with P4 in qualifying. That was a fantastic effort, wasn't it? And he just said, look, the goal is points, the goal is points. And it happened, but only just, didn't it? Only bloody just, because he was going to look like he was getting eaten alive at the end there, you know. You've got Bottas to thank really for it, because Bottas was 11th for quite a while, and then Tsunoda had a fight with him and got past him. That put the gap up to around about 5 seconds then between Tsunoda and K-Mag, and Tsunoda just finished a couple of seconds behind him. So yeah, it was close. If there had been another lap or two, I think K-Mag's tyres would have cried enough. and would have certainly let out a deep cry of like, no, I've had enough, and I think Tsunoda would have nabbed it. But as it is, Kevin Magnussen, P4 on the grid, finishing and scoring a point, it's worthy, isn't it? It's worthy of 9 points for me personally. Yeah, probably harsh by a point, to be honest. It should really be a perfect 10, shouldn't it? He scored a point, he did the job he should have done, but it'd just been nice to see him finish ahead of an Alpine. That's all I'm going to say. It'd been nice to see him beat someone else better, but yeah, it's been good this weekend. But had Stroll been on form, all his efforts would have been for nothing. So yeah, thank you, Lance, for being shit. And 9 points to Kevin Magnussen. Next up, just missing out on the points, it is Yuki Tsunoda. Oh no, how many 11ths he had this season so far? 83 of them? Oh, he's so unlucky. So unlucky. And then, like I said, only a couple of seconds behind K-Mag. Another lap or two would have had him. But he's just driving so well. These P11s don't equate to how great Tsunoda's driving. You know, that car is dog shit. It really is. It's matching the Williams, I'm convinced, in pace. You know, it is absolutely dire. He was knocked out in Q1 while his teammate got through into Q2, and you think, oh, okay, could see a surprise here. Could we see the same old Yuki being shit? But in the race overall, he drove fantastically well throughout the race. Made some good overtakes, some good moves. You know, had brilliant tyre management, saved his tyres, just did fantastically well. I can't speak highly enough of him. I didn't think he deserved this chance last season. I thought, well, if Mick's going, Tsunoda definitely deserves to go at the end of last season because they're both a pair of shunters. And this season so far, you know, we've had 11th, 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 10th, 10th, 11th. Is that it? No, that's too many races. But either way, we've had so many, you know, consistency is key. It's just a shame it's always 11th for him. It really is. He deserves, though, 10th place and points. You know, driving all so hard in a car that's so shit. And then getting over the radio. Good racing, Yuki. You are P11 again, for fuck's sake. Like, yeah, but that's not his fault. That's not his fault. He's driving so well and deserves this. I cannot believe how much he has stepped up this season. And yeah, it's a perfect 10 for me for him. He's my standout driver so far this season. He really is. Because it's just so much better. Like, I cannot believe it. Really, really mindfuck. But yeah, 10 points to Yuki Tsunoda. Finishing in 12th place, it is of course Lance Stroll.
Just to remind everyone, there was a time in Formula One where I had more points than George Russell in the same car. I have the hungry race results stuck on the fridge to remind me every day of how much of a goat I am.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Lance, why are you shit? Why are you so shit? Unbelievable. Out in Q1. Oh, we only decided to do one run on used tyres or whatever. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. That car should be a lot better than a Q1 exit, Lance. And then in the race, we made fuck all progress. Oh, this is the Lance I love, yeah. He'd had a good season up until this point, but he's really just undone all his efforts. How he did not get that car into the points. Honestly, I think I could have jumped in that car and dragged it to somewhere around 12. You know, such is the pace of that car. I honestly think I could have done as good a job as him. And it wouldn't have been hard, because he's just nowhere. And that's it, Latifi for him, because that was pathetic, That was pathetic. It really, really was. He's not delivering the same as Alonso this season anyway, but who would have thought he could have done? You know, we let him off for the first couple of races because he was injured, you know, and then recovering from his wrist injury and that. Then he had the stop the car on track moment. Wasn't his fault, but lost out on points again. But this race in particular, no excuses whatsoever. That was diabolical by Lance, and he was nowhere near anything of any value. Shite. Latifi of the week to Stroll. Then we come to Valtteri Bottas. Oh, Valtteri, unlucky for some, and here he is in 13th. Got the Alfa Romeo into Q3 for the first time this season. Lining up P8 was it in the end, so it was a respectable effort. Had to start on the mediums to match with everyone else, and it just didn't go his way, did it? The tyres had cried enough at the end there. He tried to hang on to the points, but they just weren't happening, you know. The Alpines came through, K-Mag came through, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm 11th. And then Tsunoda came through, and then Stroll came through. Finishing 13th, it's probably one of his better drives this season, though, isn't it, really? Because I don't want to hold anything out against him this race, because he did the job he should have done. He was in Q3. He was put onto the medium and hard strategy, which is more than understandable based on what everyone else was doing around him. But the hard to medium would have been better for a car of his calibre, you know. For that midfield team, then midfield packs, he would have had more of a fight at the end to climb his way through rather than clinging onto the position he had. And yeah, he probably would have still missed out on points and maybe finished 11th instead of 13th, to be fair. But, you know, it's a solid 7 this weekend for Bottas. Yeah, he's not done brilliant this season. He's been a lone ranger. He's been very, very poor at times. But this race in particular overall, I can't really discredit him so much because he's still not got the car underneath him. It was still an impressive qualifying. But the race just came undone. The tyre management wasn't there. That could be driver, could be car, could be both. You know, so a solid 7 to Valtteri Bottas. Then we come to Alex Albon in the Williams, and it's not the fairy tale story that it was last year, unfortunately, picking up points in Miami. It's a lowly 14th. What a shame, what a shame. He was into Q2, almost into Q3. Drove really, really well, though, didn't he? He deserved more from this race overall. But yeah, just again, that Williams is just on the cusp and nearly there, but not quite. And as mentioned, when you've got the 4 teams ahead of them on form, every car finishing this race, you know, it doesn't help matters. Sometimes you need to rely on the reliability, and Williams didn't have any reliability failures going their way. You know, it wasn't any cars ahead. And 14th, again, it's going to be the same as Bottas, really. It's a solid 7. I don't want to discredit Alex for anything he's done this race because he's not done anything wrong. You know, he's just delivering what he can with the car he's got. But it's nothing special, is it? You know, I think a special performance is Tsunoda finishing 11th on the cusp of points again in a tub of shit car. You know, if Alex was up there, I'd be giving the bonus points and singing the praises. But as it is, he's over-delivering with the car because I still think it should be lower than 14th, especially when all cars are finishing. But yeah, it's just a solid drive, and it's a solid 7. A solid 7 for a solid drive. That's what I would give him, and I think that's fair. So yeah, Alexander Albon, a solid 7. Then we come to Nico Hulkenberg, and what could be said for his race weekend overall. It looked so good, didn't it? Looked like we could have been on the fringes of points there. Looked like we had chance, but again, the medium onto hard tyre strategy just didn't work out at all. His tyres had cried enough, a bit like they did at Baku last race, where they're like, oh my god, I've done 50 laps, just let me fucking pit, you know. This race was pretty much the same, you know, the tyres had just dropped off at the end and he tumbled down to 15th place, but he was close to the points and on the fringes. And again, Nico Hulkenberg, it's a solid 7. It's a solid 7 to Nico. Once again, the car has not got the pace, it's not got the performance. K-Mag did the result really with the better result overall. You know, he clung onto the positions, he started higher up. Yeah, a solid 7. To Nico Hulkenberg. Then we come to Zhou Guanyu, and what could be said for his race. Again, then we come into this latter half of the field where it's like, oh, you know, you never really had a chance. And Zhou this weekend, it's going to be a solid 6. Well, I can't do anything more. He scores a point less than his teammate. His teammate had a more impressive qualifying. And that's it, really. You know, so difficult to follow the cars that are at the back when there's not much going on anyway. You know, it was just all a shame. Everything from this moment on, this moment downwards, it's like, oh my god, why can't you all just be a bit quicker and make it like a much better race? But that's life. Zhou, it's a solid 6. Finishing in 17th place, it's Lando Norris. I've not even got the energy to say it properly. He needs to get out of that McLaren, doesn't he? He really, really does. Honestly, just get the frig out of there. I don't even care if you jump to Williams at this point, Lando. Just get out of that McLaren because it is dog shit. They're really letting both drivers down here, aren't they, with a fucking awful car. Absolutely awful. I mean, no disrespect to Piastri, but if Lando can't do anything with a car, you know, I mean, he's put some magical performances in before in the car last year that was dog shit. But this year, it's just... even he can't do anything in it. It is just last. It is just bad. So yeah, Lando Norris. It's a solid 6, and I can't do anything more than that. I just don't know how to rate it, but 6 seems fair. It's just a shame, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. 6 to Lando. Then we come to Nick De Vries, and another one that's just all a bit of a shame. We expected so much from him this season, didn't we? But he's just not come through at all. He escaped Sir Latifi just this weekend. And it was only the fact that he out-qualified his teammate was the one that did it for him. Into Q2, lined up 15th. I didn't expect anything better than that, to be honest. Tagged the back of Lando at the start of the race, which was a huge shame for both drivers, tumbling them to the back of the field, or even lower than they already were, I should say. Wasn't as though in the dizzy nights of fucking 4th or anything, was it? They were down there, like, towards the back. But after the contact with De Vries, it made sure that Lando and De Vries was at the back. And from that moment on, De Vries just had a very, very lonely race and only finishing ahead of the ailing Piastri at the end, who had no brakes or a very long brake pedal. So, yeah, oh God, honestly, it's just all disappointing from here on in, isn't it? But yeah, 2 points to Nick De Vries is all I'm going to award him. Yeah, just a shame again. Just a shame. Next up, Oscar Piastri. 6 again for him, same as Lando. He had a long brake pedal from 6 laps in. It wasn't ever going to be a brake failure, but it was some kind of sensor issue, which meant the pedal went a lot longer than it needed to. So every time he stomped on the brakes, it was just boom, just straight to the bottom, and he had to try and gauge and control the braking a lot more than he usually would with a big flappy pedal that was just wanking around. Yeah, just McLaren, isn't it? I can't believe it. I honestly cannot believe it. It's just so disappointing. So, yeah, a solid 6 to Piastri, and such a shame. You know, he should have took that Alpine seat, shouldn't he? Should have took that Alpine seat. He'll be regretting that move massively now. Yeah, what a shame. Piastri, 6 points. Then we come to the final runner in the race. All cars finishing for only the 11th time in Formula One's history. And it's Logan Sargeant. It's home Grand Prix that brings up the rear.
Hey, I keep phoning Williams to see if I can have my race seat back. They said they wouldn't let me race my own shadow. Was I really that bad?
Had to be a Latifi of the week for Logan, didn't it? He's been on the verge of a Latifi for quite a while now. Saudi wasn't a good weekend. Australia wasn't a good weekend. It was lucky I didn't count what happened at the restart, because he caused big damage to De Vries there, didn't he? And punted them both off into the gravel. So, you know, he's had some very down moments, and his highest moment was Bahrain, the first race, a bit like a Bottas, really. You know, he showed his hand at the first race and then gone down from there, you know, like Yuki on debut. But he's recovering now. But yeah, at the moment, it had to be a Latifi, really, didn't it? We're the only driver to really pit for front wing damage. He'd knocked it on someone or something, caught the wall or caught a car. But either way, damage to the wing, had to pit in the early stages of the race, put him 30 seconds behind every other car and just couldn't recover. And yeah, a lonely race at his home Grand Prix, bringing up the rear. It's a shame to be a stat like that, isn't it? Oh, only 20 cars finished, and it was Logan Sargeant that finished 20th. You know, you're down there with the likes of Narain Carter-Kagan, mate, at that point. So yeah, big shame to Logan. A Latifi of the week to him. So there we go, everything, guys. Those were the runners and riders of the Miami Grand Prix. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated points are on the screen now for you to take a look at, based on what I have awarded this race, of course. As mentioned, I think there's been a few alterations, particularly the mid-pack are starting to get really tight, really close, but there's a leader out front there, and look who's in second. Yuki Tsunoda still hanging on to that second place, and deservedly so, really, honestly. He's doing a fantastic job this season. Full props and full credit to Yuki Tsunoda. He's doing incredibly well. A massive thanks as always go out to Dan of formerly Mushy Gaming, now just under his own name, Dan Bartlett, for providing me with the scoreboards, the intro, the outro, the little driver icons up in the top corner when I can be asked to do them. I don't think I'm going to do them this race because I'm rushing to get it out. I apologise in advance. But yeah, you know, fantastic guy. Honestly, thank you so much to Dan. A great guy. Also, a massive thank you to, of course, who can forget F1 Games PlayStation for providing me with the Latifi of the Week skits. And who can forget Dominic Orlando, the resident Canadian of the channel, of course, for providing me with the voice for the Latifi of the Week that Dave then edits. Massive thanks to you all. Thank you so, so much. It really means the world that we've got such a fantastic community. It's not just me that runs this channel, it's the people that watch it, it's the people that take part and help me, you know, with the intros, the outros, with the scoreboard, with the Latifis. You know, it's a really big team effort, and honestly, I'm so proud of all the guys, and thank you to everyone for watching. It really means the world. So I will be back in a couple of weeks' time then. Look out for me then. I promise it'll be on time, that one. I really, really do. I'm so sorry these last couple have been late, but I've been too busy enjoying myself with life in general, really. But yeah, thank you so, so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all in a couple of weeks' time for Imola. Or will it be the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix again? Who the fuck knows, but either way, it's at Imola anyway. See you all then. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, much love.